Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Teshuvah, and today Eitan and I are talking about how to stay spiritually safe in a chaotic world. More than ever, it seems like there are forces out there that are threatening, that even though we have the greatest alarm systems and all the protected passwords and everything in place to keep us safe, the world seems like a much more dangerous place than ever. And in this week specifically, the Kabbalists teach that we have the ability to strengthen our protection, to connect with the source of all blessings and goodness as a means to protect what's important to us. And perhaps most importantly, to be able to hone in on the tools and the wisdom and the gifts that help protect our most important asset, which is our own energy. Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual weather forecast where we provide our listeners with the most practical and powerful tools to navigate the coming 7 days. We do that by studying and sharing the wisdom and tools of Kabbalah. And every episode ends up providing practical tools and wisdom that can serve you not only this week as you approach what's coming at you, but literally every week of the year, every year of your life. And we're right now in the month of Cancer. It's a interesting time period, emotionally intense, energetically intense. It's the month of the year that's controlled by the moon. And that moon represents for us ebbs and flows, filling and emptying, highs and lows. And we learned that the vaccine, the solution, exists within the problem. So part of what today is about is looking at what does protection mean? How do we access it? How do we interfere with it? And to that point, Eitan, I want to hear from you. When we talk about spiritual protection or safety or avoiding unnecessary danger, what do the Kabbalists teach? What are the most important things for us to know?
I think let's first acknowledge that there's two dimensions that we all would like to be protected. Physical protection, which we call it the 1% dimension, what we see, dangers from sickness, dangers from an accident, dangers from a bad guy who wants to do something bad to me. And we're not saying we should deny it and it's not important. Of course, there's a level of safety and protection and paying attention that we need to have in order to protect ourselves from physical dangers. Nevertheless, Kabbalistically, the main source of protection, not excluding the 1%, but the main source of protection that we need to be concerned about is spiritual protection. First, let's understand what does it mean spiritual protection, or what is spiritual dangers. So, Kabbalistically, in every given moment, we are all surrounded with metaphysical forces, spirits. Sounds scary. Some positive spirits, some positive angels, some negative angels, some negative spirits. And there's many types of spirit when we're speaking about negative. Some of them were created by negative behavior, words, action, thoughts of mankind. And some of them are just there, are part of the system of free will and tests and the path of transformation of mankind. So in every given moment, if we become vulnerable spiritually, and we'll speak about it soon, we might allow negative force to take over that can manifest itself as an impure spirit, negative energy, and then manifest later as a sickness, as negativity, as chaos, as blockage in prosperity, as blockage at home. Things in our life, negative or positive, never just happen by themselves. There's always somehow letting in flow of light and positive spirit, or letting in flow of negativity in our life. So what is some of the most important, I think, awareness and tools that we can share? I think number one, our mind so often is concerned and dwelling in fears around something physical that it's about to happen or not. That's by itself makes us vulnerable for negativity, because there are 4 dimensions that we operate: thoughts, feelings, words, action. What is the most powerful dimension that stimulates the most amount of energy that can cause positive or negative in the strongest way? The dimension that we don't see any physical movement, which is the dimensions of thoughts. If you and me are really aware that my thoughts and my intention actually will determine what type of energy I'm bringing into my life. If my thoughts are attached to certainty, attached to light, attached to the feeling that I'm connected to the light, or please the light guide me, and I'm certain regardless what's happening outside, with the help of the light, I'm protected, it's already the first level of protection. If my thoughts, because wherever your thoughts are, that's where you are. If my thoughts giving power to physical circumstances to determine what I think about life, what I think about my life, what I think about tomorrow, I gave the power to external reality to control my life. And that's what makes me receptive to negative energy. Negative energy comes into my life when I'm not aware that the light is with me and I'm with the light. That's very simple. You want protection? Are you attached to the light right now? Number one, awareness that the energy of good, energy of love, energy of guidance, energy of protection is with you right now, regardless how you feel. Number two, which is as important, because I want to maintain connection with the light, am I generating light type frequency and energy? Energy of love, energy of giving, energy of guidance, energy of being present, energy of blessing other people, energy. Of course, I need some time to be concerned about something physical that happened. But what am I more concerned about? The physical reality, or what type of energy is produced in my mind? Think about it. The thoughts creating vibration in our head, in every cell of our body. And instead of worrying about tomorrow, worry about now. What type of vibration am I attracting into my life? So I think that's the first question. Where is my mind? Is my mind connected to the light, connecting to the infinite force of the Creator right now? Because from the infinite force of the Creator, it's always with me. It's me that disconnected or connected.
It's interesting because exactly what you're saying is confirmed by alternative medicine, that our immune system is weakened by anger, sadness, guilt. And so, all day long, we're exposed to germs and viruses and different things that can harm us, but our body naturally defends ourselves from them. That's the natural connected state of the body, unless we, through our thoughts and our emotions, suppress that system, and then something can come in and affect us negatively. But what's interesting, Eitan, is as I'm listening to you sharing, my thoughts go to something very fundamental in the teachings of Kabbalah, which is that everything happens for a reason, right? Cause and effect are, the laws of cause and effect are, it's a perfect system. Nothing goes unobserved or unaccounted for. So when we talk about this idea of protection and the idea that let's say, for example, I'm worried about something and I'm giving energy to a reality that I don't want, therefore giving that reality power and momentum, it's also possible to say in some way that that too was meant to be. And I wonder what's the line between everything happens for a reason, even if I invite negativity into my life, it's also there for a reason, meaning it can serve me. It's also there to elevate me, to get me to my next level. The question is, how do we view the purpose of those exposures, let's say, to negative situations? Or, I mean, we've all been in a situation, let's say, where we get a ticket while we're driving, or something unnecessarily negative happens to us. There's certain things that you can look at and say, oh, that was meant to be, and that I'm so glad it happened. It's hard to look at a ticket from a traffic ticket as oh, that was meant to be. I'm so glad it happened. How do we reconcile we have the ability to attract negativity into our lives, and everything is meant to be, and if it's in my movie, it's there for a reason?
I think it's very important dance in the spiritual work that each one of us needs to connect with. I think after the fact, I need to accept that every negativity, it's a cleansing, it's purification, it's elevation, it's for a reason. After the fact, can I learn lesson and realize in retrospect, I spoke bad about someone. I wasn't worried too much about what types of energy I'm injecting. In retrospect, I made myself vulnerable for negativity to come back, or I'll be judged for no reason without justice, which caused me tremendous pain. And after the fact, I realized, I created that space, cause and effect. Now, that's a lesson that will help me next time to make myself less vulnerable. But after the fact that it happened and I went through pain, the pain itself is a cleansing. The pain itself is to elevate me. Everything that's happening in my life, in this very second, it's exactly the way it's supposed to happen. But can I learn lessons, how I can conduct myself in a much more elevated way, so I don't see it as a contradiction? We're all going to get to our full potential, individually and collectively as a world. The world will reach global peace eventually. Our soul and our body will align with the light of the Creator. Our ego will be removed. Our selfishness will be removed. The question is, will it happen through a long path or a short path? Through a lot of judgment and negativity that will wake me up to learn my lessons, or through more proactive? So while after the fact, number one, I'm accepting whatever going through me with love, and that's an important thoughts and intention. Whatever just happened, I accept it with love as my purification and growth, and the fact that to inject this intention to pain, you are elevated and cleansed and create protection. Because complaining about what you're going through makes me more vulnerable to more negativity to come. But is there a point I can learn, I wasn't protected. I didn't pay attention. Sometimes, because we know evil tongue can make us vulnerable to attract negative forces in our life. But evil eye, the Talmud tells us that 99% of people dying before their time because of evil eye. What does it mean? Should I run away from people because I'm afraid of evil eye? No. What is our responsibility regarding evil eye? Sometimes we're so eager to share about our blessings, not because we truly believe it will inspire someone, is because I'm needy for some attention from the outside. And when that's my consciousness, very often I'll be vulnerable to share my blessing with the wrong people. So actually, even though the other person is the one that has jealousy and evil eye, which is connecting also to this weekly portion, But I made myself vulnerable by being so consumed with wanting to get attention. And as a result, I will get attention from the wrong people. So that's also a way we become vulnerable. Every time we complain, we're creating negative spirits that blocking the protective shield of the light to assist us, literally. So there's so many ways we can look at protection versus not.
What that to me is a big lesson also about how we create our own reality. So for example, like you said before, let's say I gossiped, or I was complaining, or I judged, I was critical, and we create that opening for negativity to boomerang back to us. When the boomerang comes, or maybe I'll use a different metaphor, maybe the negativity, the challenge that we're experiencing right now is the result of previous negativity. We planted a seed, and the current negativity is the fruit of that seed. We can get reactive about the current negativity and plant future seeds, or we can take it as a lesson and a cleansing and make the effort not to plant more similar seeds. At the same time, I'm thinking right now, can assume that everybody who's listening to us is on some sort of spiritual journey, whether it's their first episode or their 300th episode, whether they're studying Kabbalah or any other spiritual path, there is a greater desire for consciousness and awareness. But what happens to the negativity or the negative actions, thoughts, words, and emotions we had before we awakened, before we became spiritual? How do we deal with, and it's funny to say it like this, but for someone who's listening to this episode and thinking, wow, this is really inspiring, I can use this, but I was a really terrible person 20 years ago, and I haven't had a negative life. When's the bomb going to drop? How can I protect myself from the negativity I created when I wasn't aware and when I wasn't conscious?
That's a very good question, and then there's a concept called Teshuvah. Teshuvah means, I don't want it to sound religious, repentance, but actually the Rav Berg used to call it back to the future. And we can do it every night for the day, or in some periods in our life, we can do it for what happened previous years ago. What does it mean back to the future? Beside the fact that it's healthy to designate every day, can be before going to sleep or whenever you choose, to reflect on the day. Go back to the future means I take full responsibility for the mistake, for the negativity I created. And how do you know you really take full responsibility? You're willing to commit for new behavior. And that's taking full responsibility for the past, believe it or not, transform past negativity. As long as it's a regular practice. And what you're saying is important, Elisha, because what you're saying, energy never disappears. The fact that a year ago, I didn't behave with integrity in business, and I hurt someone, and afterward things being okay, and time passed, we forget about it, we don't feel guilty anymore, we move on, that's what life is about. Go back to that actually energy you injected. Is this energy there protecting you, or makes you vulnerable? Makes me vulnerable. That energy never disappear. Positive energy never disappear. Negative energy, unless I worked to transform that. So there is tremendous power to that process called back to the future. Go back to incidents of negativity. If you need to do something physical about it to truly actually change that reality and talk to someone, absolutely. If not, the fact that you take full responsibility and follow through with real commitment for the future. And now do you know you really change? You will be tested again with similar scenario. And you'll have the opportunity to behave differently.
I want to go back to something you brought up that's also in this week's portion, the concept of evil eye, and how evil eye, maybe as we understand it traditionally, is wishing bad for someone, being jealous, envious. But there's another kind of evil eye that we hear much less about that I think is more relevant to this conversation, which is judging and limiting, right? Looking at something or someone and saying, that'll never work, or he'll never be successful. We do it to ourselves sometimes. We say, I'm worthless, or it never works out for me. And we have these ways of putting barriers, whether it's even spoken. Sometimes we can say things that are terribly self-deprecating just to be funny or to deflect a compliment. We're very easy to throw things out about ourselves that don't put us in a positive light, not realizing that it's like putting an invisible fence between us and moving forward, between us and our growth, between us and higher levels of success. So a big part of, I think, this conversation is recognizing that it's up to each one of us to determine, to decide if something is positive or if something is negative, right? Understanding that there is a lesson in the struggle that I'm experiencing is a way of saying, this is not a negative experience. This is a positive experience because I'm growing as a result of it. But many times we look at things like a painful breakup, or getting let go from a job, or a friendship falling out, that it was bad. It's bad that it happened because it's painful, because it's hard. We label it, we put it in a basket of our life experiences labeled, I wish this never happened. Not realizing that it's really through those labelings and those designations, right? It's completely human nature to assign meaning and put those labels on those baskets. However, part of the process of Teshuvah, I think, is going and looking at those situations as, I decided it was bad. This breakup, it was painful, it was difficult, but it was also a blessing in disguise because it led me to be where I am today.
And when you're deciding, as you say, when you're deciding it's bad, eventually you will see it's good for you, but you prolong the process. Because when you're deciding it's bad, you're saying it's not part of the bigger picture. The light is not involved, even though we know the light is involved in everything. So actually I'm disconnecting from the blessings.
That was that's, I think, one of the biggest lessons this week, is that the sooner I'll look for the light, the goodness, the blessing, the lesson, and you don't have to, sometimes when I meet with students, they say, maybe that was the lesson, or maybe this is the lesson. There are a million lessons from everything we experience. It's up to us to extract the light from the shell. It doesn't come out of the shell naturally by itself. It's through our soul searching, introspection, being more internally focused, that we find the light. And once you find just like a sparkle, one piece of glitter, you start to see other ones. Oh, and maybe and because of that, I met that person. And because of this, I learned to be more compassionate and more sensitive. And because I experienced that loss, I knew how to handle. But the longer we stay looking at what they did to me, what wasn't fair, what I didn't deserve, what was too hard, what I can't handle, we prevent ourselves from the blessing in disguise coming out of its disguise. So I want to invite everybody this week to look at the experiences that you're having, the parts of your life right now that feel hard or painful or difficult, and really make the effort, maybe through the practice of appreciation, gratitude, find a way to identify the light in that struggle, in that challenge, in that situation, because as you find one light, you'll find another and another and another, and begin really to recognize how powerful our perception is. We expedite the revelation of the blessings that the universe intended to give us through that challenging package. It's a really powerful call to rethink how we look at our lives, and this is a great week to do that. Is there anything else you want to share before?
Say, in regards to this weekly energy, the Zohar tells us something very powerful. He's saying that there are miracles that are happening or meant to happen to each one of us that we would never know it happened. All of us. The Zohar gives an ancient story of a guy who wakes up in the morning, a snake was about to kill him, and without even knowing, he actually killed the snake out there, stepping on him, and he didn't even know, and someone found a dead snake later. But to eat, the Zohar tells us, each one of us are experiencing miracles that only the Creator knows about. And by us fighting to be in a state of appreciation, like Elisheva you shared, finding for the spark of light and good, and try to expand that, because we know it's so much easier, and it's scientifically proven, to find one spark of bad and to expand on it so fast. To find one spark of good and to expand on it until it affects my heart and my emotion, to feel sense of it takes work. But by doing this, I'm allowing the miracles that meant to happen to me to manifest themselves. Maybe I will never know it happened, but the fact that it happened means my life is better. And I'm protected from chaos that I didn't even know supposed to happen to me. So am I fighting to be in a state of gratitude and appreciation? Or am I just letting myself be driven to see whatever comes up, the negativity, the lack, and letting my natural reactive self to expand on it and to see more of that lack? More a maintained state of appreciation, and we all need to fight for it. I'm creating protection shield. More I'm focusing on what's lacking in my life and not right. I'm actually become vulnerable for negativity and chaos in my life.
As someone who has recently embraced this appreciation practice, shared with me yesterday that it's a miracle how different she feels. Just the feeling inside that she has as a result of consciously taking time every day. She's working on finding her soulmate and many different things, so she could be focused on what isn't. But she said by focusing on, she was saying, I have eyes to watch the sunset. I have ear. Like she went through this whole like explosion of gratitude for all of the blessings in her life. And she said, the greatest miracle of all is how much trust I have now, that I know good is coming, and I feel, and again, I'm just sharing it because that perspective speeds up the process, right? You can embrace the challenge as a gift, or you can push it away as a punishment. And it really is all up to us. And I'm so excited for everybody this week to shift out of that lack mindset, or what's missing mindset, what isn't, into what is, and to really see not only the sense of protection grow, but also the chain of positive seeds and fruits being planted again and again and again that can really create a dramatic change in each of our lives. Weekly Energy Boost is available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You can follow us on those platforms to receive even more content to support you in living what we talk about every week. You can also visit our website, weeklyenergyboost.com, where you can find out more about things we think are important for our listeners to know. visit our archives, send us a message, but most importantly, please share this week's episode. And if you haven't already, rate and review. We look forward to seeing you again next time on the Weekly Energy Boost.